You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 313. Here we are, the 28th of June, 2023. Welcome to the show. We've got a bunch of news to talk about this week. Not a surprise, but let's start with introductions first. We have our friend, Mr. Casey Green and friend with him in the Carolinas. How are you today, Casey and Moto?
That's right. Hello, Moto. Say hi. Hi, everybody. MrSupercharger.com to you. After the show, we were talking about that last night, and I saw the domain, or the last show, I saw the domain was available, so I am now officially MrSupercharger.com.
Yeah, we've been calling you Mr. Supercharger, and so yeah, you might as well get the domain before somebody else does, because
Right.
that's what you do, the Supercharger review dude.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I did it for both ways of, like, if you want to do Mr. MR or MISTER.
Mr.
Yeah.
Very good. And are you getting smoke down there, Casey, in the as far as the Carolinas?
No, we've got a lot of heat.
Yeah. I hear people in even Washington are complaining about the smoke. So
I heard as far as south as Delaware, they got air quality warnings.
Okay.
And then I hear sometime this week the folks in Texas are supposed to get a real feel of 120 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Yeah. Climate change, we didn't have anything to do with it. This is natural.
Toronto
we did make it
today,
a little bit worse.
Toronto today took the #1 worst possible air in the world. So,
Whoa.
But again, it's our fires, so it makes sense. But that's just about 60 miles down the road from me. I went out at one point and it smelled like barbecue.
Wow.
But luckily the winds have shifted a little bit and it's starting to clear out a bit for us here in Southern Ontario. So, but also joining us, Mr. Patrick Conner on the West Coast, who I'm sure is not being affected by Canadian smoke at all.
No, but we have had our summers of fire in the past. 2020, I think it was. I was wearing a mask for two reasons: because the air quality was horrible and because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the sun is just a pink orange ball in the sky that you can stare directly at, that the air during noonday, the air quality is pretty bad. Yeah. Well, hello Tesla Nation. We got a fun show for you today.
Yes, we do.
Let's get going. A little hello to the chat room. We have My Tesla Weekend. We have Mike. We have Derek.
Brian.
We have Logan all joining us in the live chat. And it was, who was it? It was Mike. He's from Central California. And of course, Derek, I believe, is from California as well. So got a couple of California natives in the chat. Send us a note in the chat where you're from. Would appreciate it. Like to see that.
It was first in chat this week.
Exactly. Well, let's roll on first to the NACS information. And Casey's going to help us out with that because there's quite a bit of NACS information.
Yeah. We thought it was just going to be 2 articles and, no big deal. So first out of the gate, we had Blink. Blink announced that they had new NACS and CCS fast chargers and that they would be supporting NACS on their low voltage chargers as well. And then shortly after that, we had our friends over at Volvo have adopted the NACS, and they did just like all the other major automakers and Aptera, have formed an agreement with Tesla so that they can get access in 2024 to adapters, and in 2025 have a native NACS port and access to 12,000 superchargers.
That is pretty cool.
And
the writing is on the wall. This is the way North America is going. If anybody who doesn't jump is going to be left on some legacy beta VHS, the wrong side of the war.
HD DVD.
Although there are adapters, so it's not quite that bad. But
right.
So it's not quite a deserted island.
Right. Yes.
And one of the automakers was interviewed, and I can't remember which one for the life of me. I thought I was going to write it down, and I didn't. They announced that they were getting their connectors and ports and cables from Tesla. So, and at 500 volts. So not the 1000s, but they're getting them from Tesla means that they're going to be the smaller, lighter, ergonomic ones, and not some of the monstrosities we've seen some of the prototypes come out with from the other vendors, which is cool. And also not like a NACS plug on a Electrify America jumbo cable. Either.
Now, I did hear, or remember hearing when the first news was announced by Ford, they did say that Tesla was going to make the connectors for them. So
it may have been Ford in the interview then, yeah. And then that it didn't stop there. No, it does not stop there, because we have to talk about NACS for minutes on end, because that's how it works. so then you guys may remember an elderly stately connector that uses a certain signaling that we first saw back in the MagnaCharge days and the Avcon connector, and actually is even older than that. But that's when that signaling became standard. So this little known standard is called SAE J1772-2009. Well, guess what? SAE has decided they are going to standardize and adopt the NACS. So there was an op-ed that went out amongst a couple of our friends and a couple of other strangers. Everybody was like, hey, everybody is sure CCS is dead now, CCS1. But what about the low voltage charger? You don't really need it anymore. But apparently, even the people who made it agree.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there's no reason for it. Once you have NACS and it can do AC, it can do DC, you wouldn't want to keep J1772 around just for low voltage. That makes no sense. The goal here is to have one plug that you can use anywhere, whether it's AC, whether it's DC, and eventually with no adapter. Once you get to that, then you've got it easy. And then if you have plug and charge, or what is the plug and pay method, where you just plug in, and then it becomes simple. Then you get to a point where anybody can do it. If you can plug it in, it does everything else for you. It figures out whether you're AC, whether you're DC, how much it's free or not free, and whether you have an account there. It just does all of that. That's the way it should be, as easy as possible.
And there's a couple of things that are going to come out of this. For one, if you have a company that can only do stuff by the book, Tesla had an open standard, like Linux, which is fine for most companies, as we saw, but not all of them. So some of them need to code it to a spec, and so this gives them a spec. It also guarantees them that even if Tesla decides that 1,000 volts isn't enough for them and they want to do something else, that means that they can continue to use that standard and not have to deal with anything Tesla may do in the future. And also, this is something I've run into at some companies and organizations I've worked at, where you couldn't consume your own supply no matter how you did it, and you could only do like approved vendors. So like if they have to buy the spec from somebody, and I did the math on just one of the protocols, or one of the, I think it was the CCS2 connection I did, just the physical connector, and for one copy for just an individual, it was like $670 converted from euros. And they said, "Do you have more people that need to see this thing?" I said, No, I don't even want to see the thing. The other good thing about that, though, is as Patrick mentioned with the plug-in charge, they're going to codify their plug-in charge into that, and obviously for the Supercharger network, if Tesla had used a different standard, I didn't compare which numbers they're using, because these standard bodies like to talk about they have the ISO 677. I'm not gonna. The only way I'm gonna know is if I sit there and pull up the numbers beside each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're esoteric. But so if Tesla's not using the one that they're using, then they'll have that as part of their standard, and that would then also mean that everybody else has something where you can just do plug-in charge. And I like that they're putting that in the standard rather than leaving, because Tesla said, just do what you want, because they were saying just use CCS, and CCS goes, plug-in charge is optional, and so they're not allowing plug-in charge to be optional. It looks like from their initial statements. And that's also going to solidify certain things that we saw from Tesla that they said, we'll figure it out later, like vehicle to X. So vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, vehicle to home.
Yeah.
Not saying that they weren't going to do it, but now it has to be in there before they can say the thing is done.
That's cool. Good. Yeah. Again, it's progressing at a rapid pace still. And, Even more news about NACS today is actually yesterday at about lunchtime, it was announced that Volvo was
Volvo? I'm
converting.
sorry, I looked right at the picture.
I think you mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, maybe he did.
Okay, cool. You scared me. I was like, what? I was looking at the picture, didn't call him out.
So that's another company that's moved over, and as Patrick has mentioned, who's going to be left out? Who's just going to sit on the sidelines? I just don't think that they can do that.
If we're much closer to the end, is it going to be Volkswagen or is it going to be Toyota?
Right. Yeah. Who will be last?
Volkswagen, Toyota, or Stellantis?
Stellantis. They said we're going to look at it.
Right.
Once you hadn't seen this, you'd be foolish to look at it and then not go. Unless your name is Lucid and you can only do 50 kilowatt charging if it's not a 900 volt station. But that seems like, why not just on your new cars put in a better converter and then when the 1000 volts comes out, accept it. I mean, still keep the 1000 volt, but just get a better converter. The whole complaint is, people on a road trip are going to have a bad experience. Well, make the experience better. You're a manufacturer. Get with it.
Yeah.
The other part of that is that like Hyundai and but again, now the SAE has said they're going to codify it, and Charian said we're going to push to help codify it. There's anybody who holds back is just doing for stubbornness or political reasons, other than, like I said, somebody who's got a legit reason like Lucid. Because if you look at the Hummer, it just splits the pack in two. The Hyundai eGMP, they had a solution which was similar to Lucid's, but their converter was better. At first, they wouldn't charge at all at the Magic Dock stations. Then they got to 50 kilowatts, and now they're sitting around 100 kilowatts. So if you work with Tesla, they'll work with you on superchargers. But the beauty of NACS is, if you don't want to work with Tesla at all, you can just do your thing. But now this also helps with if you've got Hyundai pointing at EVgo, for instance, and saying it's their fault that you can't charge at full speed, and EVgo's pointing at Hyundai and says, "Oh no, it's their fault." Well, if you've got a standard, you can say, "All right, well, here's the standard. Let's run the test." All right, in the West Coast, it's the stations, and the East Coast, it's the car.
Right. Who's non-compliant to the standard? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're cheap like me, you can just use the open source one from Tesla.com. And if money's no object, you can pay for the one from SAE.
One other thing with the Volvo is, was it mentioned that Polestar is going to go? It was
not
with
mentioned,
Volvo?
And so I was curious when that one was this Volvo and Friends, so Volvo, Geely, Polestar, or was it just Volvo? And if that's the case, how long until Polestar says something or tweets or whatever?
Yeah,
or they just do it silently, like, if Volvo said it, we're good.
Yeah. I would think that once the parent company goes, you would think that the others would follow suit, because they're probably buying in mass anyways for a number of the parts. It would make sense.
Look at their headlights and other parts, they're identical.
Yeah.
The only thing I wasn't sure of, I saw it mentioned both ways, that they both are peers under Geely, or that, Volvo's under Geely and Polestar's under Volvo, because Polestar used to be the performance mark for Volvo. It's just a trim, basically. And then they moved it up, and then they moved it out. It was on gas cars, and then it was on plug-ins, and then now it's on EVs only. But now Volvo's going EV only.
From corporate structure, it's almost irrelevant. There's still very much a lot of cross-pollination between those two, and I think it's obvious Polestar is going to go that way. I'd be shocked. In fact, I was surprised that Polestar didn't do it first, just because they've been so EV focused compared to Volvo that I thought it would happen the other way around.
Volvo's also stated that they're not going to make any more gas cars. So
So they're but Polestar was that way.
This is going to be a similar discussion we're going to have when the Hyundai group does it. Unless they come out and say Hyundai group, if Hyundai or Kia says it, it's like, well, Genesis and Hyundai are going to do it, but they also at the same time, every now and then, they like to pretend that they're not the same company. I mean, they're not exactly the same company, and that's what they like to stress that. But come on, it's the same platform, it's the same body panels. They just stretched them different. Like, come on, nobody's fooled by this.
And also keep in mind that maybe somebody not announcing quite yet, but maybe waiting a few more weeks or a month or so may not hurt somebody too badly, because of course everybody seems to be indicating it's the 2024 and 2025 switchover date, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
we've got a lot of EVs that are, staging this over the next 2 years. So not necessarily something that's is something that you have to jump on right away. But I got to believe they're all looking at it, like now especially. Because it just makes
on
sense.
audio. My Tesla weekend says totally different. You guys, the headquarters are all on the other side of the driveway.
Yeah, totally different.
And my Tesla weekend indicated they're in Portland, and June C from Massachusetts. So
Yes.
welcome.
The other good thing about all this standardization is that now you can stop hearing all those people whine about how it's not a standard, because even when we've heard Charian say this repeatedly at every announcement. One where they were seething, and two where they're like, "Oh, we'll help out." But even SAE, when they made their announcement, they said it's not a standard, even though it's in the name. It's a de facto standard. Yes, it's not a an ISO IEEE SAE standard. No, it's not. But when 80% of the EVs on the market use it, what do you call that?
That's an overwhelming majority standard at that point. So. One other thing with the NACS is the win that Tesla got from Texas and
Washington State
and Washington now. Yeah,
so we thought it was going to be California, but it was Texas first.
Texas first.
So what happened there?
They still can't get their legislation in to
you can't sell the car there.
To allow the sale of a Tesla car in the state, but they had no problem saying that federal funds used for charging standard, you're going to have a NACS connector.
Yeah. So in Texas it's done, and in Washington it's pretty much done. They interviewed one of the folks who's going to make it happen, and in Texas you must have on every station a CCS port, CCS1, and a NACS port. And in Washington State, like, was it 2 days or the next day, they came out and said, hey, you must have a sufficient number of NACS ports as well. What they didn't say is what's sufficient. For the federal money, you need 4 CCS1s at a minimum per site. And so what Washington State is saying is, hey, we might say 50% need to be NACS or 100% need to be NACS. They're not sure yet, but again, 80% of the EVs on the market are going to have an NACS port at this, it might be 100 by the time the native ports come out, but at this juncture is 80%. And so I don't see Washington saying anything other than at least 50-50, if not 100%, just like Texas is saying everyone needs to be dual-headed CCS and NACS.
And one further piece of information I didn't even have in the stories written up, but ChargePoint has been working on being able to release NACS ports early. So conversion kits available to swap out nozzles, basically.
So on the public DC chargers, they're going to have the retrofit kits available. It's unclear if the home chargers are going to have it. Same for the level 2 existing stations, but all of their products are going to come out with an option for you to pick NACS as either the handle or one of the handles. And obviously, if you're deploying in Texas or Washington, now you need to pick both. And they didn't seem to say whether or not they're going to expect you to get a new home unit, or if they're going to give the home. They probably won't give the home users the ability to remove your cable and replace it. I think it would be smart of them to offer it as a kit and say, "Hey, call your electrician," and then if you just do it on your own, then that's on you. And that is also exciting. And they've been working on it since 2017, 2018, when we first saw it for like 10 minutes on the auto show floor.
When they got their hands slapped by Tesla. Yeah. Hopefully they kept all that stuff in a warehouse just waiting.
Right. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, just off camera. I wonder if anybody else is going to do their own version of Magic Dock, because if you have these requirements to support both to get the federal dollars, that might be a way to do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Any other hardware manufacturers are going to do Magic Dock? That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, why wouldn't ChargePoint or Blink or whoever do that? Yeah. It would be a little more difficult, because then everybody who comes there would have to use the app to say which connector they wanted before they could take it out.
Yeah. Or they pick it when they register the app. Like, hey, I'm charging the blue car today, or the green car tomorrow, and then it would just do the right thing.
Whichever one you have selected. I guess, how does it know? Or you just have it so if you pull it out without doing anything, it defaults to NACS. Yeah. And if you go, oh, that's not the one I need, plug it back in, then you have to do something in your app to make it lock, and then you can use it.
And so that could go two ways. They could either just make an adapter, because again, NACS is open source, and then assuming that SAE doesn't do this stupid thing that Charian does and say no adapters. SAE said they don't like adapters, but they didn't say no adapters in their little interview. And so either they could license the Magic Dock from Tesla, or they could make their own version and just make sure they don't get stepping on Tesla's patents or IP.
But Tesla open sources their patents, so as long as
that's
you're
not part of the
NACS
agreement. That's part of the Tesla. Hey, we agree not to sue you. You agree not to sue us. Open up the books, and that's why they didn't do NACS before it became NACS, because they were afraid of opening their books too wide. So I could see people not doing that unless they license it from Tesla as a customer.
Yep. So
but if they did that, I wonder if they could get the Supercharger protocol for the old cars. Because like, if I hadn't got the CCS update and I plugged my car into this charge point, it wouldn't charge. It wouldn't handshake. It would be like I'd still get the blue port or I'd get the red port. Blue meaning, hey, it's not haven't connected yet, or red saying, hey, there's something wrong here. But because I did get, my car can now speak CCS, because it's this is legacy cars and certain cars built in 2021, depending on where the supply chain hit you. Those cars can't speak the CCS protocol, and so NACS uses CCS, so that would mean you can only charge at superchargers. And they have retrofits available for all the cars. On the Model 3, it's simple enough. You can on some of them you can just swap the board. Some of them you swap the board and add a cable, or on the legacy cars it's a little bit harder. So you want to get Tesla to do it, just to make sure that you don't burn anything up, and that your car still functions when you turn it back on. And it took them a little bit of time, but it wasn't too bad. And on the Model X, it's even worse than the Model S, because it's kind of like deep in the wheel well underneath all the trim. Tight spaces. Let somebody else bang their fingers on the sidewall.
I doubt anybody else will adopt the legacy Tesla protocol.
Right, you're looking at what, 600,000 cars, a million cars?
Right. Yeah. Compared to the number of cars that are on the road today, and how many will be here in 2025, that's a dwindling percentage, especially when Tesla can retrofit / upgrade them. It's going to be an ever diminishing amount.
And then also counting the ones that age out or wreck out, or just get cannibalized to turn the car into a home Powerwall or something.
Right. Yes.
So we'll leave the NACS corner, because probably next week we'll have another NACS segment based on the amount of news that comes in. But our next story is a little bit of a forecast from B of A securities analyst John Murphy in the Tasmanian article that we're quoting here, has indicated that he believes that Tesla is going to remain out front EV sales leader in the United States at least until 2026. And I think that's kind of a soft bet myself. I think that,
totally. I mean,
I think that's a pretty well a foregone conclusion based on the number of factories that are opening up, and what Tesla's doing with ramps, and the number of sales that have been happening just in this year and previous years. Tesla's controlling 2/3 of the market today in the U.S. And that doesn't show any signs of slowing down, even with other manufacturers bringing new models to the marketplace. Tesla just seems to be continuing to accelerate in sales. So, there's actually Tesla may be starting to catch up with the amount that they're making and selling. That may be starting to happen, but even with their ramps, they're selling everything they have. Might last a little bit longer, a week or so longer than previous, but it's really been a great run for Tesla to this point. And this analyst believes that they're going to remain the leader. And keep in mind, I don't know what that percentage would be to continue to be the leader. Because if you've got multiple people, multiple manufacturers all competing, the lead may only be, 20%. That may be the sales leader when you put all the other vehicles together into the market. Because of course the percentages are going to change as more and more enter the market.
Yeah, you've got a company that makes 6 products. One of them is the world's best-selling vehicle, period, and the other is the world's best-performing Class 8 truck, and then everything else in between. And right now, like you said, their current position in the market is so high, and they're still ramping up to do more. They're making more battery factories, making refineries, making more in-house products so they can get done faster. They're making their products more streamlined and cheaper. Like right now, the Model 3 is still made with like 100 pieces in the front end, whereas the Model Y is 3 in the front end. And you have to assume that Project Highland is going to bring some of that back into the Model 3. And then you've got CyberTruck coming out. You've got Ford and GM making new battery factories, but that takes time to bring them online. And then you've got Volkswagen shutting down their factory for an extra week. You've got Lordstown going bankrupt. Tesla's in a good spot here.
Yeah. Just to say they'll be the U.S. leader in 2026 is like saying, grass will be green in 2026. It's not a bold prediction.
It'd be stronger to say through 2028 or 2030, but
right. Yeah. That now you're actually making a statement.
You put something out there.
Yeah, you're putting something out there. So I mean, by volume, the only competition they have is BYD, and this article they're talking specifically about in the U.S. And so, which BYD has effectively no market here in the U.S.
Right, and then BYD only beats them if you count the plug-in hybrids.
Right,
and
exactly.
That's only in China.
Yes, you have to really paint the particular picture if you want to say that BYD is winning. And I'm the smartest person
BYD
in this
and
room.
Proterra are beating them in buses. They don't make them.
Right. Yes. Yeah, Tesla is just doing horribly in the bus segment. I can't believe how bad they're doing in this bus segment.
They're losing.
But they're doing remarkably well in Patrick's house.
Yes.
Yes. 2 out of 3 vehicles. They're 2/3 of the market, Mark. Just like you said.
Of the market.
Yeah. My Tesla weekend points out the BYD integration saved them. Yeah, so that's something that the 2 companies have in common, and something that's part of why we see so many of the companies coming over as they did, because they with the NACS they don't really want to get in the charging market. They don't want to really make their own stuff. They want to be able to buy a box, bolt it in, sell the car, move on, do it again. They don't want the vertical integration. They don't want to own infrastructure.
Right. Yep. That's what killed EVs in the 90s.
That's right. They will have the boring shuttle. Yeah. At some point.
Next, Mr. Supercharger is going to talk a little bit about evaluation of the Supercharger.
Yes. So how about I say, not me, but I'm going to say that these people are saying that the Supercharger network is worth $100 billion.
100 B as in big. Wow.
Yeah, bravo.
100 billion is
Yes.
So that's the evaluation that this analyst put on the whole thing.
Yes. And so that is, let's see, in the role of...
That's an incredible amount. Like, again, thinking about where it started with basically 3 superchargers between San Francisco and Los Angeles is where it all started. And now
2 in the Northeast.
we're sitting at a point where it's valued at 100 billion. But of course, that evaluation probably had something to do with all the other companies swarming to it. That's really, really helped the situation. I was at an EV event on Tuesday, and I had 3 separate people ask me if I'm upset that Tesla is starting to share the superchargers because I own a Tesla. And it's like, no, not at all. Don't really care. Because first of all, not all the chargers are going to be shared. The busy ones are going to be kept as Tesla only. Right. And you're going to find the underutilized ones will be those ones that are added to the 12,000 lists that GM and Ford will have, and the other automakers will have access to.
Yeah, Tesla's sitting around 19,000 right now, and everybody keeps saying 12,000. You get 12,000 more than you had yesterday.
Yep. And the people that were asking me, they were surprised that they were only going to get a portion of the superchargers. They never heard of the 12,000. They heard Supercharger, and that meant everything to them. So,
and it will appear that way to them, because if they just use their app, a Better Route Planner, or their on-screen dash, it will just point them to the ones they have access to.
That's right.
And so they won't know that they're missing 3.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is that since Tesla has the data, they have the ability to even make a call and say, you know what, this one's getting overrun. It's time to build a new one. And since they're receiving revenue from all these other sources, it should be easier to build another one, or at least green light it, because they can see the revenue is going to be made back in a quick manner.
I put forth that perhaps these manufacturers in their deal, where they say they're not paying Tesla anything, perhaps they're paying the membership fee for the non-Teslas, because Elon said during a couple of the announcements that they're not going to have higher price, they're not going to have to wait behind anybody, and everything will be just like normal on the stations that they're allowed to use. Well, today on the non-Tesla charge, you pay a higher fee unless you pay, what is it, $19 a month?
Yeah.
So yeah, they may have waived that just to get all the extra customers and to get the regulatory ease. So even if they aren't getting the extra $20 a month, but if they are, you can use all of that money to help expand the station, update the like say the V2s, get them updated to V3s, start installing V4s, add in, like right now they're adding 2 sites a day in North America, and they can keep that up and increase it.
Yeah.
We saw their dashboard.
I would like to see their report that says it's worth $100 billion, because I did some quick spreadsheet math, and I'm not getting anywhere near that. But then again, I'm not a full-time analyst. But just because they've said this, I don't know that there's so much more that happens at supercharging locations than the actual revenue that Tesla gets from it. It's the user experience. I wonder how many people who come in with some non-Tesla are going to be hanging out with all these Tesla owners, and your car can do that? I can't do that. How come you get updates all the time?
How you watching Netflix on the screen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got an awesome gaming console, and you're just sitting in the back seat with camp mode on and chilling. So there's it's certainly valuable for Tesla to do this. I don't know that it's in dollars and cents, $100 billion. I don't think they're going to lose money at it. I'm not saying that, but if it's just a cost of business and increases customer loyalty or generates sales, those are all positives. Yeah. And maybe they're taking some of those.
Told us. They said superchargers and service are supposed to be net. Sometimes it makes a profit, sometimes it makes a loss. And doesn't mean they're not going to change their minds later.
Yeah, with more and more, the temptation may be there to bump something here and there because it's going to have an explanation bump on profits, based on volume. More and more volume, more and more use, more and more clients. It's going to be a tough temptation to beat because it's a quick fix for things that maybe have gone sideways a little bit, and you want to adjust for something that hits you that you weren't expecting. So
right, and they do need to make a profit to grow it. So they should be making some revenue so they can build out the next station.
But they don't need to knock your block off either.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
This is also one of the few times that we actually see one of these professional analysts actually value anything other than just the car manufacturer and sales as anything of value. So this is kind of
Wall Street has been short-sighted on all the other aspects of the company.
Yeah,
energy worth nothing. FSD $0.
That's what happens when you give Tesla to the car analyst. He's like, okay, what vehicles do they make? What's his other stuff? I don't care. I don't know those things. I don't want to talk about it. Software? What's that? I don't know.
Auto bidder? Not the auto bidder's not what, except for,
instantly
paying off stuff. Yeah.
Is auto bidder what you use on Auto Trader? I understand that.
Does it buy the cars at auction for you for the used car market?
Right. Hey, bit.
Next story, we've got a bit of a video leak that came from the Tesla production at Giga Texas, where
that's been a
basically you're spotting a frame of a CyberTruck on a line is basically what it is.
Yeah, I called it on Sunday. I called it a moving photograph.
Yeah. It's
I
not
said a video, but
it's not all that fantastic. So it could have been someone in the factory that just grabbed their cell phone and grabbed a quick couple of half seconds here and there to show it. Yeah, a sweep by, but it wasn't. It obviously wasn't one that was meant for production because of the poor quality of it. But again, we're not surprised. We know that Tesla has been working on the Cybertruck line for some time now. We know that ever since they started to import machinery from Europe and other places to start building that line. So, and we've heard and seen many things about Cybertruck that's telling us that yes, they are moving towards that production date that still sits at third quarter sometime this year.
Yeah, and sticking with just the Cybertruck at the Giga Factory, they took the coverings off the windows, and when they did that, we saw that Giga Press number 2 had been installed next to Giga Press number 1, and then we've seen spy shots of the Cybertruck all over the world. I'm just going to leave it there because we're going to talk more about Cybertruck later in the show. And all the people who say, "Oh, yeah, I'll believe it when I believe it." Yeah, it's later than as I said. Elon can't use a timepiece to save his life. He's been right twice on published predictions of time, and they wouldn't waste all this money on the factory, the employees, and all the testing if this thing wasn't close to imminent.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, there's the employee ramp up too. They've been hiring positions for Cybertruck for quite some time now, so it's definitely going on. Now, that's not to say that they may not run into a bump along the way and have to adjust. But at this point, it's looking pretty good.
They've already gone through the In-N-Out Burger drive-through, so it's a done deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need to know. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. The unofficial start of production starts at the drive-through at In-N-Out.
Exactly.
Yes. There's a good question from Jeff Sturgis, who is talking about
not Jeff
that
Sturgis.
leak from Spain. So we heard that that Spain is out of the running for a Gigafactory because of the leak that Spain produced about, I guess, negotiations. Now, well, I can't believe this is completely true. Yeah. It may have been that Tesla really ruled out Spain for some other reasons along the way, and the leak was something that they could say that they are upset about because, of course, they don't want people to leak their news. Never do. Because we didn't see them get rid of Mexico, and we knew Mexico was talking about it before it was officially announced. Yeah. So there's
but maybe Mexico ruined it for everybody else. They're like, man, another one of these Latin countries talking about stuff we're not done with yet.
Don't bring into the Latin and say that's the problem. That's
all these Spanish-speaking people tell their secrets.
But it's got to be a few things, I would say, not just that there was a leak.
Yeah, they weren't competitive enough compared to the other offers.
Because there's everyone's leaking. They just can't stop it. Everyone is, just over the moon with the news, and any government that believes that they're getting it, they want to be the one to release to their constituents to say, hey, look what I'm doing for you people. Look what we've lined up. Look what's coming. Look what negotiations we're at. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I wonder if Tesla's trying to make an example. They were not going to build there anyway. But if they say this, we're not building because you leaked this, then the next politician might think twice about leaking it.
Might think a little bit twice, yeah.
Well, there's also precedent for this. Remember all the leaks we had from Oklahoma, and then look what happened to them. Texas.
I think that was begging
I don't think Oklahoma was ever in it. I really don't. I think Oklahoma. It was nice that they came to Tesla with a certain presentation, and I think Tesla was pleasantly surprised with what they saw there. But I think Austin was the only place Tesla was going because their employees had indicated that Austin was an okay place to relocate outside of California. So many people had said, you know what, Austin would be an okay second place that we would go to. So.
Oh, that's a good point. Canada had a bunch of leaks and they didn't get a factory. They got one eventually, but not a Giga Factory.
Not yet. Not yet that we know of. I'm still holding out hope. Next, we got a story of Patrick. It's about a battery system in New York City.
Big A battery.
That's right. Yes. I don't know who the editor is here, but I would have had some more feedback to this author, but I will ignore that. Con Edison is New York City's major energy company, and they are going to install the city's largest battery system. So they've already had a small battery system since 2019, and obviously that's been working well, and now they're going to upgrade. And how big is it? I don't know how many hamsters it is, or it's enough
store metric units
to charge 1.5 million cell phones. Okay, now what type of cell phone? What size of cell phone?
What kind of example is that?
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like how many homes it could run or whatever. You can use these examples to try to make it so that people understand, but you should give the actual number first. How many kilowatt hours, megawatt hours, gigawatt hour, whatever. Yes, and then break it down. So this looks pretty cool, and I don't know. So each mega pack is 730 megawatt hours, and I don't know how many cell phones that is, so I can't convert it for you. But this is cool.
That should be a standard that you should say how many homes, the average home, it would do. Telling you, that you can do a cell phone. Nobody knows how much energy a cell phone uses, or 100 million cell phones. We have no clue.
Is it one of these or one of these? That's the difference.
Yeah. So they do have. Let's see, the fire department's done a safety review, and it's passed all those checks. And there was one other cool part in here that I wanted to mention. So they are going to be charging it with solar, and they're also going to be charging it overnight when electricity demand is low. So that helps normalize the grid load, which makes it a whole lot easier on the grid operators. And then when summertime hits and all the air conditioning is running, you then discharge the battery again. So you want to fill the valleys and shave the peaks. And with a big old battery, you can do exactly that. And then you get much more of a steady state. All the noise of things shifting back and forth gets smoothed right out, and then the grid is much more stable. That's what big batteries do for you. I thought this was a pretty cool story, despite my complaints.
And of course, in New York City, where you've got these extreme, what do they call it? The duck bill is the wave,
the duck curve.
Duck curve. So you've got this need to have peaker plants in New York City. You've got gasoline. I'm sorry, natural gas peaker plants that would be in the area, and it's and with that extreme amount of people. You need something that can micro switch immediately on and off to be able to smooth out those peaks and valleys. So it's something that, again, we're seeing all over the world. We first saw in Australia when Tesla introduced this technology. And it's great to see that others are picking up the ball and running with it for their solution, because they've been able to see a number of successful transitions for other utility companies that have been using the same technology. So it's great to see that more and more districts are coming online with this type of solution.
And that first one in Australia paid itself off in under a year.
Yeah, right. I got to believe that as more of these come online, the potential for making huge profits on the swing is going to start to wane, because you're going to have more and more people in the game in different parts of the world that are going to be able to contribute to this. So if you're thinking about it, the earlier you get in on it, the quicker you can pay it off, because the profits are going to be greater at the beginning as opposed to the end.
Yeah, if you can be near some place like Texas that just royally screwed themselves, you might be able to take advantage of some of them swings.
Exactly. Next, got a story about the Cybertruck. There was a Cars and Coffee that was held in Los Angeles area near the Petersen Museum. And lo and behold, look who shows up. But Franz from Tesla decides to show up with his family and park the Cybertruck in this was no surprise to the organizers. Obviously, they had a podium for the Cybertruck to sit on, almost, where it was available for people to see up close this time. And Franz moved around to the truck and performed a few things, dropped the tailgate, showed the tailgate cubby hole that we've seen previously. But in this version of the Cybertruck, it looked used because it's actually being used in real life scenarios. So there was dirt on the truck. There was you could see some of the options that the vehicle had up close because they weren't as they were at Giga Factory before, keeping it in the middle, and everyone was 15 feet away from it at their closest. But this one, people got to get up a little closer. There was a lot of photography when Franz was opening the doors to catch the interior look. And there was some comparisons from the original interior to the Franz interior that was shown at the Petersen here just recently. And it was good to see that it's transitioned somewhat. Another interesting was the charge port. They actually showed it in operation. So the automated flap on the side of the wheel well went up to reveal the NACS connector, and that's something that we had a question about in our Twitter feed, which is at the Tesla Life, if you're not familiar with it. But the question was, is this a great selection of where to put this charger so close to the back wheel well? Does it make sense to have the charger in a wet spot, essentially, that could be wet, from the spray of the wheels, from inclement weather? Does it make sense that
is it going to be packed with mud when they're sanding and graveling the roads? Is it going to get all chewed up? Yeah,
exactly.
So, we'll find out.
So Tesla on the other prototypes, the older ones, they used to have it about 3 inches back from where it is now, and they used to have it in what was like a fuel door, a little cut in the bodywork with a flap, and then behind it was the charge port door. However, the material they're using to make the truck, is it's not the easiest to work with. So they want to minimize the number of cuts, and the taillights are fully housed inside the bed, so you couldn't do what they do on the other Tesla models except for China, and except for the pre-Model 3 China, I should say. They couldn't just put it in the taillight. So the only other less labor-intensive place to put it was the plastic trim around the wheel arches that would still keep it near the V2 and V3 supercharger cable lengths. You could probably do the bumper, but the rear bumper is probably going to be very steel, even if the front bumper is kind of plasticky.
Yeah, all those reasons make sense. The thing about this, when I watched it, that I thought was cool was I've been wondering how you're going to open the doors. Yeah. Because there's no obvious handle there. And it seems like nearly every Tesla vehicle has a different way to do handles. I think the 3 and the Y are the only ones that are the same. So when he opened it, what it looked like to me is, so there's the door, and the window is a little shorter. So where the door extends past the window, there was a push down spot, which is kind of like the way you open the tailgate on the X or the trunk on the 3. So it's that sort of button is what it looked like he was pressing. And then once you press it, it pops out a bit, and then you can just grab it. So I thought that was a cool way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I'm still holding out hope that we get 4 self-presenting doors.
But that would require, not necessarily. I guess
flaming hot stainless steel.
It's not. I don't think they'd want to include something like the X, where it's an actual piston that opens and closes the door. I don't think that would be it. But even with the Model 3 on the app, there's the ability to pop the door, and basically all that's doing is doing an unlock feature of the actual latch, so the door moves about an inch, and then you can just grab it and pull it. But and I could definitely see them doing that. But I think they've probably flip-flopped on what it was actually going to be. Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a search for them to decide what is going to work best. What would be our?
I'm glad they got rid of the Model S handles, because my Model S, man, 6 handles. That was too much. I was like, oh no, not those again.
Yeah, but you look, right. They solved that problem with the Y and the 3 though. Nobody has any problem with the 3 or the Y with replacing door handles.
No, but there is the first time a passenger walks up going, what do I do? What do I grab? How's it?
Yeah.
That is kind of funny though.
So
depending on how much you like the person, you can just go, let's just sit there for a while, or tell them,
or just said, well, I left because you weren't doing anything. So.
Yeah, I assumed you didn't want to get in, so I drove off.
Yeah, but if you're an Uber driver or similar taxi driver, you gotta get them vinyl graphics telling them how to work your door so they don't destroy it.
Actually, there's an aftermarket part that fits on the 3 and the Y, and it covers the entire handle. And it's a regular handle. You pull the handle, like it sticks to the exterior of the chrome, and you can actually pull it, and it works flawlessly, and it looks like a normal handle, and everyone can figure it out. So if you really have that issue, if you're an Uber or something, look for that solution online. There's many of them available.
Yeah, the other ones I've seen are the ones where they just pop the handles out, and so then they can just grab the stick, because they're like, oh, I know what that is. It's a handle.
Push the fat end, pull the skinny end. That's what you hear me yelling through the window.
Just so we can, if your date can't figure out the door, you don't want to date them.
We'll leave that right there, Casey. We won't go any further with that. So next, there is a story here about Tesla innovating. We've got this story where it's talking about, as Tesla simplifies the parts in these cars, they're able to produce them faster, in less space, more efficiently. And this analyst has indicated that they believe that the company in certain areas has reduced the build times by up to 30%. They believe that with Project Highland and other changes to the production of the cars, that they believe overall Tesla is heading towards a 25% reduction in build times. So this is kind of interesting that we see the innovation. We talk about how there's 150 different parts in the Model 3 rear trunk assembly area. And switching the Model Y to a single casting reduces all that and the need to attach with different glues and rivets and whatever else. So this is all part of it. And another thing, I spoke to a Tesla representative just this last Tuesday, and they told me something that I didn't quite realize. He talked about the super bottle that's in the car that came with, this is a brand new thing that Tesla was doing. It efficiently allowed the HVAC system, the battery system, and others to share and use the same liquid and cool it and heat it in an efficient manner. But what I didn't realize is that there are already 9 versions into it. So They didn't stop with just the first super bottle. What they did is they started to see real life information about how it's acting, and they've been making tweaks along the way. And every time they've got something that makes it more efficient or a little better, or for whatever reason, maybe it's the diameter of one of the tubes or whatever, they're making these changes immediately and rolling it out so that the car just gets more and more efficient, more and more better as time goes along. So, and they're doing this with everything, and with that, this story kind of makes sense that you can now reduce the time it takes to actually make the car. So you're reducing the labor, you're reducing the cost of the car, and you're reducing the space it takes up. So you've got more room for other assembly lines. You've got more room for internal storage. You've got more room for other things that Tesla can use and drive down the costs of other cars. So this is something that we don't hear a lot from other automakers, making larger changes immediately to affect everything along the entire production line.
Yeah. Well, they've got that, the directive for every employee who's on the line to come up with ways to make everything cheaper, faster, better. So like if the guy who installs the doors finds a new way to hang the doors, it'll make its way up the chain quickly, because it's the way that they've been tasked to do things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we saw that at the last Investor Day where they were talking about the current system is put the doors on so you can paint it, then take the doors off so you can do other stuff, then put the doors back on later. So if they can come up with better methods, that's just helps all around. Herbert Diess, from when he was at VW, was talking about how, I don't remember the numbers, it takes him 10 hours to build a car where Tesla was doing it in 4, and how he wanted to look at what Tesla was doing and then improve their systems. And now, and as we say all the time, if you're trying to catch up, if your plan is to, in 5 years, be where Tesla is today, you're going to be 7 years behind by the time you get there.
Yeah,
because they're not going to stand still, and their pace of innovation is not slowing down. Not at all.
Yeah. Right. I also asked the employee about service. Is that an issue with service when you're improving the Super Bottle or other parts of the Tesla at any given time? And he said that he had the same question that they asked a service manager, and the answer was no, because it all relates to the VIN number. So when the car comes in, they know exactly what that car has inside of it because the VIN number is attached to all the dates and parts that actually were used in the production of that vehicle. They're keeping an accurate inventory of all those cars that are associated with those VIN numbers. And then they're just updating their computer as a new one comes along, gets a new part. All of a sudden, okay, from this VIN number forward, we know that it's part C instead of part B.
Right.
So
thank you, My Tesla Weekend. There's the numbers that, so VW was at 20 hours per car, where Tesla was half that.
Yeah.
And then if you get any retrofits or accessories, that actually also tracks with your car. So like they know that my car has the CCS enabled, even though if you pull up the initial build sheet, CCS didn't exist in the same way that when my car was built. So
the only possibility. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was just going to say, at the service center, if they've improved the Super Bottle, multiple revisions, and you come in and your Super Bottle's broken, they don't have to necessarily go back to the exact same one that you had. If the newer one fits in the same space, if they made it compatible, and then you just get an upgrade with your repair.
Yeah,
and we see that right now with folks who have a 40, 60, or 75 or 90 battery. They're all getting 90 batteries put in their car when they get replaced, and then they just software lock them to where they need to be, rather than maintaining a stock of all those old small batteries.
Exactly.
Around the country.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, with that, let's wrap it up. We've hit our other stories already. So, Casey, any shout-outs for us this evening?
Yeah, I'd like to see you all on Sunday at youtube.com @CaseyGreen, where we do a similar show. It's a little longer, a little more topics, but it's quite fun. Gives us a little pre-show for the Tesla Life, and then Tesla Life blows the news out, and then we do it all over again. It's pretty cool.
Very good. We will catch you Sundays at what time?
1:10 p.m. Eastern.
1:10. Very good. Patrick, any shout-outs from you this evening?
Sure. As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. And I have a new one up there right now about summertime, hot summers, and how
there was a lot of summers in that title. Summertime.
Having a little Fresh Prince flashback. Oh, look at
Very
that.
good.
Yeah, you got it up
Very
there.
good. And of course, you out there, if you're watching at this point, you only have one job. Press that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, press subscribe. That helps us out immensely. And we would really appreciate that so we can get in front of more eyeballs because you've helped the algorithm show our name to others. So please do that. And we would appreciate it very, very much. Casey, you've got somebody off to the side. Moto's making their way into the camera view. Very good. Very good. And with that, we'll wrap. We'll get together next week on Wednesday and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
Future free from fossil fuels.
Boom!
Can't forget.
Didn't think he was going to get it in.
Stay positive.
Things.
Tesla
Happy
Day.
Canada Day! Almost.
Happy Canada Day.
Yeah. Happy Tesla birthday.
That's right. Teslaversary. Keep summer safe.